Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
Never before in the history of sports podcasts have two men brought you opinion and analysis like these two. They speak for a city that's desperate for wins and titles, not whining and travesty. You might not agree with what they have to say, but you'll defend their right to say it. Sports fans across the world, from Chicago, Illinois, this is the Mac and Reed Show.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome into another edition of the Mac and Reed Show right here on the Barroom Network. We are live on YouTube, of course, thanks to the Barroom Network, and you can check out all the previous shows on YouTube if you want to see our faces. Audio-only versions are available through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your audio. Check it out. Like, subscribe, tell a friend or two. You can follow us on Twitter. Follow me at TheRealEvanMac and follow Ross at Ross Reed. Hello, Ross. How's it going?
Hello. I am plugging our show on Twitter right now to get some more people to jump in today on this beautiful Wednesday evening. How you doing?
Tweet that shit.
Exactly.
I'm doing great. Yeah, and remember, you can, if you are watching along with us on YouTube, you can live comment, and we'll give you your due as well as you give your hot takes, unless you're from Detroit, where we'll just shit on you. And a lot to get to on this show today. We've been off for a minute, I feel like. So we missed a lot of the finals recap, but we are in it, man. And we're going to talk about Bears offseason news to start. And training camp is just around the corner here as the Bears are going to conclude their offseason program, so to speak. Justin Jones going in after Packers fans. Love the audio from that. And then as far as NFL storylines as well that we'll throw in there, get Ross's opinions. And then Denver hoisting their first NBA championship as they defeated the Heat in 4-1. It was a very impressive run for the Nuggets. We'll dive into all that and Jokic's legacy. And then we'll be talking about the Father's Day celebrations as we end the show, of course, and more media. As we're now in the dog days of summer after this NBA and championship and the NHL championship as well. Stanley Cup concluded with the Golden Knights just thumping the Panthers. So a bad week for Miami, but get Lionel Messi. We'll talk about that Messi effect as well. Favorite TV dads, just so much fun stuff on the way. But to begin, let's go ahead and talk about the Chicago Bears as, it's really early on, and guys, it just reported to OTAs, and there's only so much you can see. A bunch of 7-on-7 drills where guys aren't even in pads yet. No pads popping. So you're just going through the motions, and especially from the offensive side, which we'll touch on a lot in this show. We're seeing Justin Fields build his chemistry with his new number one in DJ Moore. They wrapped up their second full practice of minicamp. Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, Jack Sanborn, this is today. Each did not participate due to injuries. The highlights of the day were some strikes from Justin Fields and a tight window to DJ Moore, for example. But there are inconsistencies. I think every reporter close to the Bears will say that, and even outside of the Bears organization and us fans looking from afar will say that there are some inconsistencies. But there's 40 days to get ready, give or take, for that opener against Green Bay. And, of course, the preseason games will be great dress rehearsals as well. But, to lead the show, Fields and Moore are shining. That's we'll talk about that at length, and that's great to have that great number one connection, 1-2. But is there cause for concern, on the injury front with Chase Claypool? And we talked about it. And if you follow the Barroom Network on Twitter, which you should, there was a poll earlier talking about the level of concern about Chase Claypool that I'll put up right now, this graphic. What's your level of concern with Chase Claypool heading into 2023? Based on injuries, based on his, lack of production, et cetera. He Didn't have a great first year with the Bears. And, you know, when you come from a trade, you only get so much time. But the level of concern, as you can see, there's either some or high for those folks that voted. There's only a smaller percentage of zero level of concern, which is probably accurate. So with that in mind, with him injured and really just down production, no touchdowns, pretty minimal catches last year, what's your level of concern with Chase Claypool, Ross?
Yeah, I think I agree with the majority there in that poll, which is it's somewhat concerning. And I think it's because you have to look at the history from him, right? This is a guy who was highly touted coming out of Notre Dame, you know, gets drafted in the second round by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Steelers have a great pedigree of drafting and developing wide receivers. And to me, the first concern is when the Steelers are saying, we're going to essentially give up on you. We don't want you a part of this situation anymore. That causes me to be concerned right away, because I think that they are a very good organization at identifying the kind of talent and developing it and keeping it in-house. So that was kind of step one right there. And then from step two, you know, he was very productive early on in his career, not so much with Pittsburgh. Obviously, the quarterback situation had a lot to do with that, but Roethlisberger basically had a noodle arm towards the end of his Pittsburgh run. But he gets to Chicago, and yes, there's so much stacked up against him. Has to learn a new playbook, injuries are involved, you know, all the kinds of things like that. But you know, he didn't have a lot of even I wouldn't even say wild plays, even just above average plays. And then you go into this offseason and, you know, he wants a new contract. And, you know, I'm sure the Bears are inclined to want to give him one because they gave up a second round pick for him. But, you know, when you can't get out onto the football field, even during the summertime, you know, coming off of an injury riddled season last year, there is a somewhat cause for concern. And I guess the biggest thing is for me, for Claypool, is I just don't think that the full potential is ever going to come to fruition for him. I'm willing to be patient. I'm willing to still give him the benefit of the doubt for right now, because it is June and we have a long way to go. But, you know, I think he has a quick hook. And I think that, you know, if he can't get out there and play consistently and stay healthy in September and going forward, I don't think the Bears should bring him back. I don't think they should even consider offering him a contract. You know, you are now in a much better situation, you know, from a wide receiver standpoint. I obviously trust DJ more. I trust Darnell Mooney more than Chase Claypool right now, even though Darnell Mooney is also coming off an injury last year. You know, you want to see what a guy like Tyler Scott can do. You know, and you know, you're at a point too where, you know, instead of pumping 17, 18, 19 million dollars potentially a year into a wide receiver that just can't maximize his potential, you might be able to find that again in the draft. You know, we saw a bunch of guys in the first round get taken this year in the second round. The Bears are going to have at least the Carolina Panthers decent draft pick, because they've got that pick as well, and they've got their own picks this year, stuff like that. So it's a little bit somewhat concerning, but I think for now we have to give him the benefit of the doubt. But if this starts going into training camp and he can't stay on the field in training camp, and he can't get reps in preseason, and he can't stay on the field in the regular season, then obviously that concern gets greater. And I'd sooner just think about cutting losses. Obviously he'll last through the season, but I can't see him getting a long-term deal from the Bears.
Yeah, 24 years old, caught 10 passes for 60 yards, 0 touchdowns, targeted 18 times in this last season with Justin Fields at the helm. And again, when you saw that poll, some level of concern at least. And for me, there's a high level of concern for him. He's 24 years old, and he certainly had a bunch of highlight reel plays in Pittsburgh. That's why you went and got this guy, because he's got such great size. But it's a competitive wide receiver room between, you know, DJ Moore right now and Darnell Mooney, who you mentioned, who I would definitely trust more than Claypool, even with his injuries at this point right now, just because he showed that chemistry with the Fields last year. But Claypool obviously has a lot to play for, even with these minor injuries. And, you know, you'll have that asterisk if you have those injuries, I guess. But can you imagine him being healthy and then putting up those shitty types of numbers like 200 receiving yards or 300, something absurd like that, just basically getting shut out for, you know, a tight end like Cole Kmet and Moore and Mooney, and even other guys like Velus Jones maybe sneaking in there and getting all those stats. So it's a bit concerning. We'll see come training camp. This is all, again, as we know, we need to take a deep breath as Bears fans. This is all just the very, very early onset of offseason storylines. There are no, knock on wood, major injuries in mind right now. This is, as Ross mutes his mic for his dogs, and no major injuries to report thus far that guys are nursing and missing training camp completely. There's not too much concern there, and minor injuries, if it's from Chase Claypool's mouth, I'm not too concerned about it. It's nice to see, again, as we'll switch focus to DJ Moore and QB1 building their chemistry. That's for sure. But I'm not, as far as Chase Claypool is concerned, we need, as Bears fans, to see this unit be completely healthy. The offensive line is very important. On the positive note, the connection between DJ Moore and Justin Fields seems to be real at this point. And even though it's, without pads, not completely full speed, it's something that we can really see. Obviously Justin Fields having just such a great level of talent at Ohio State, where we saw him, at his peak performance as a quarterback at Ohio State. Now, he was thrown to a bunch of bums last year. He's able to throw to a guy who had some incredible catches and stats with the Panthers, and when he really wasn't playing with a great quarterback of his own to that end. So between the two of them, Fields really, now it's that savvy vet that Justin Fields wants at this point. And now, DJ Moore, he's able to play with a guy who has just some great talent. What are your expectations? I know it's very early, Ross, but what are your impressions, I guess, of this early on too, with the DJ Moore and Justin Fields connection?
Yeah, basically it's the complete opposite of Chase Claypool. So if you have a little bit of concern for, Chase Claypool, I have zero concerns for DJ Moore. I think this guy is a consummate professional. I think he's going to come in and be ready to go right away. As we've seen him already, he's been awesome since he's been traded to the Bears. He has certainly the pedigree in this league, right? He's been in the league now, since 2018 when he was 21 years old, and he's been able to play virtually every single game. And, the lowest amount of receptions he had was his rookie year with 55 receptions for 788 yards. You mentioned about his quarterback situation last year. It definitely wasn't ideal. And still somehow he had the most touchdowns in his career at 7 and almost had 1,000 yards. So I think this guy he's got top 10 wide receiver potential. I think that him and Justin Fields are already starting to have good chemistry with each other and making magic. He allows Justin to go deep down the field, which Justin really wants to do, and throw it to a fast, big body receiver, but also try and fit the football into those tight spaces, knowing that DJ Moore has, great hands, is going to be able to come down with it. And I just think that those two guys are really, really going to have great chemistry together with each other. And it also opens up everything else for all the other guys. This helps Darnell Mooney be more of a better wide receiver because he's not getting number one coverage like he would, in the past, because he was the best receiver. This allows a guy like even Cole Kmet and Robert Tonyan to get more opportunities over the middle of the field, because the defense has to pay so much attention to DJ Moore as he's running 25, 30 yards down the field. Even Tyler Scott, who's going to get some reps out the slot. And of course, it all circles back to Chase Claypool. If Chase Claypool can't go out there and eat in this offense with DJ Moore on the field, then that's a huge situation. So, I love what I'm seeing so far and what I'm hearing so far from DJ Moore. I just think that, he reminds me a lot of on the field of what Brandon Marshall brought to the Bears when he was traded here, years ago. Obviously, they're two different guys off the field, but Brandon Marshall was such an explosive security blanket for Jay Cutler. And obviously, Brandon Marshall put up unbelievable numbers in his short time in Chicago. I think DJ Moore, because of his age, remember, he's only 25 years old right now. I think that he could really, with him and Justin, kind of rewrite the record books for each other. And, they can be I think Pro Football Focus had them one of the emerging top 5 quarterbacks to wide receiver duels this year coming up, right? And not the ones that have already existed, but of the new guys. And I completely agree. I mean, from a fantasy football standpoint, from a realistic on the field standpoint, those two guys should really make magic together. And I'm excited about it.
Yeah, no question. I agree with you. And NFL.com, as you mentioned, ranked Fields and Moore the number 5 new veteran quarterback wide receiver duo. I'm sure Lamar Jackson and OBJ are somewhere in that new top 5 as well. I know Lamar is excited as well. So the offense, yeah, those expectations are there. And I echo everything you say. And what I echo even more is the potential with the Fields and Moore connection as they build chemistry. And hopefully if it's as good as a Cutler, Brandon Marshall type of connection, then we'll be on to something there, but open up other opportunities for a guy we mentioned in Chase Claypool, a guy like Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet. And then we got Robert Tonyan across the middle too. And really working these tight ends will be huge, as well as the Bears try to make their mark in the NFC North now that Aaron Rodgers isn't there to run the league. So I know that, on the defensive side of things, Eddie Jackson, trying to be healthy, and there's a lot expected from him as the highest paid safety in the league still, or
he's certainly up there. He's probably still in the top 5 right now.
So still in that top 5, but recovering from serious injury. It's his 7th season with the Bears. He said, quote, "These years, we can't waste them. I've got to lead by example. I've got to go out there and play the best ball that I can and go out there and make plays. It's huge. It's year 7 for me." So there's not more years to waste. Every year, I want to come out and improve and get better and better. And we remember when the Bears last made the playoffs, and that was, I should say, that year where they lost to the Eagles and they were losing. They missed Eddie Jackson when he had a Pro Bowl, like all pro sort of caliber season. That's the best we've seen Eddie Jackson so far. And it's been the rest of his career been mired. He got the bag based on that season, but now it's kind of been mired in injuries since that point. It makes a lot of sense what he's saying when you're in year 7, like you're the vet now, and you've basically peaked at that point. If you're 7 years in the league at that position, it's really only downhill from there. So he's really got to embrace this peak of this prime of his career, rather. So it'll be interesting to see how he leads this new look defense. And what are your impressions? What have you heard from camp so far as they get ready to report to training camp very soon?
Yeah, Eddie Jackson now 8th among safeties in the highest paid right now. He's at $14.6 million a year. Highest paid safety would be Derwin James from the Los Angeles Chargers at a whopping $19.1 million, and that is well deserved for him. But
money well spent.
Yeah, listen, I think Eddie Jackson is the most important player on that defense for the Bears. I know they got Tremaine Edmonds on there, and I know, people talk about Jalen Johnson and stuff like that, but that defense goes as Eddie Jackson goes. And it's really because he is still the best playmaker on that defense. He's still the guy who can take the ball away from the opposing offense and take it to the house. And when the Bears were humming as a collective football team and potentially trying to go into the playoffs and make a long run, it was really on the strength of Eddie Jackson making those great plays. And he was kind of rounding back into form a little bit last year before he got hurt. He was actually having a very outstanding season. And so that's what, sucks so much about seeing him go down last year is, and you can see it when he got hurt last year. That Bears defense took a massive hit. Now, obviously, a bunch of guys got hurt last year. But listen, he played, 12 games last year and he had 4 interceptions. He hadn't done that since 2018 when he was a Pro Bowler and all-pro safety that year. That's really the 2018-2019 season is what got him the big contract. So he was well on his way last year to having another solid season. I think he can return to form. Again, he helps Jaquan Brisker out a lot, who's now going into his 2nd year, who plays a lot better, closer to the action, to the ball, almost like an extra linebacker out there. But the Bears have a bunch of rookies too in that secondary that are going to probably see some time. I mean, everybody's raving already about Tyreek Stevenson, the rookie from Miami. He's probably going to be a starting corner on week 1. And if he is, you desperately need a guy like Eddie Jackson to help provide him space over the top. Terrell Smith is another rookie that's going to be able to get some snaps out there. Not a rookie, but we know about Kyler Gordon, and he's going to be out on the football field a lot too. And then he helps the linebackers a lot. Tremaine Evans is obviously going to be your Mike. He's going to be the guy right in the middle of the field. But, I look at guys like Jack Sanborn and Noah Sewell, the rookie, who's probably going to get a ton of snaps this year. They're not the best to me in pass coverage. And so you need a guy like Eddie Jackson to really, really be smart on the back end and put you in position and also make those plays. So it's good to see him out there. It's good to see him healthy, and let's hope that he can stay this way, because I do think that he is the captain of that defense, especially with the style that Matt Eberflus wants to do. And I think you see that because the Bears very real. I think they could have traded him last year as they traded Roquan Smith, right? And they started to sell off some pieces. I think they could have traded him in the offseason. He's making a lot of money for a team that's not really a Super Bowl contender, but they value his leadership and they value what he brings to the defense and to those young guys. And so I think that's why he's still here. And I think he's going to be here for quite a while to go, as long as he can stay healthy.
It would be great to see him be a lifelong Bear, but it's still a lot to be played in Eddie Jackson's career, I should say. But yeah, he absolutely needs to be out there as a captain and as a leader of this Bears defense. So it'll be exciting to see Tremaine Edmonds as well, and all these new signings and new rookies just get a lot of chemistry with a new look defense completely. We still don't know what's going to happen with that pass rush. I know the latest on, say Yannick Ngakoue, he's got a fancy new agent to get him signed before training camp. Maybe the Bears, maybe there's an outside chance. I know that, again, we talked in the last time we talked, Ross, we talked about Matt Eberflus basically committing to signing an edge rusher before training camp, or at least during training camp at some point. So there's still possibilities out there. Any rumors? What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, he doubled down on it today too. He said, "Listen, the edge is still a priority for us. We want to bring one more guy in there, and we know how these old veterans think. They don't want to do all the shit that these guys are doing right now. They don't want to show up to OTAs and mini camps, and they really don't even want to show up to training camp. Half these guys are, you just came back from Miami, a couple weeks ago. I was down in Miami too. Listen, it's fun to show up to the gym at 12 o'clock and get a pump in, and then go down to Collins Ave, and then sit on the beach and have some fun. You don't want to be up in Lake Forest right now in Chicago area for OTAs. So I think a lot of these guys are going to take their time. I think as we get closer to August, a lot of these guys are probably like July. A lot of these guys are going to sign, but Yannick Ngakoue is I think he's still a guy that to me would be number one to bring in. I know there's rumors of him wanting a multi-year deal. He's got Drew Rosenhaus as an agent now. Drew Rosenhaus and Ryan Poles have a good working relationship. So I think that he's still a possibility. I think Jadeveon Clowney is a possibility too. And to be honest with you, with the Bears cap space right now, I would sign both of them to 1 year deals. Like, it doesn't hurt.
Man. Yeah,
because you're probably going to get both those guys right now for around $10 million total. And I'm fine with that, because you look at that depth right now at the edge for them. It's DeMarcus Walker, who he brought in from Tennessee, but he's been primarily a backup in his career. It's Travis Gibson, who's your own guy, but again, primarily a backup. Dominique Robinson has been a backup. Rasheem Green is a guy you brought in from Houston. He's another backup as well. That's your rotation right now at left defensive end and right defensive end. These guys are backups. And so at least if you bring in, guys like Ngakoue or Jadeveon Clowney, their experience, they can rotate in and out, and they're good football players. I know Cliff here is also throwing Justin Houston out there. Justin Houston is another guy out there. He reminds, obviously he's played with the Colts and he knows that system very well. He reminds me a lot of, ironically playing with the Colts of Dwight Freeney late in his career, and what he can bring to the table and stuff like that. So, bring in, I know, Eberflus said he wants to bring in one. I say bring in two. Bring in two on a 1 year deal. And then obviously in the draft 2024, I'd be shocked if they didn't address, pass rushing early and often in that draft, because it is the most glaring need right now on this football team.
Absolutely. I mean, regardless of who you sign and if you sign someone, because they need some vet, at least one. And I'm with you now that you throw out two guys, then that'd be a home run to help, again, complete the whole changeup of this new look defense. But there's a long way to go with that for sure. But on the note of the Bears sort of changing the narrative, I did love what Justin Jones had to say about Green Bay today, as we'll listen in.
How different is it going to be now that Aaron Rodgers is somewhere else?
I wish he played one more year with Green Bay. Honestly, we went up there and we played a pretty good game, but they got away from us at the end, obviously. And they won, but their fans are really shitty. So Yeah, I wanted to go back up there, and I wanted to play him, and I wanted to beat them, and I wanted him to be there so you can see it. But the fact that he's gone now, it's cool. I guess it's better for him not to be here, But yeah, man, I'm ready to take it over. I mean, it's a good time to be a Bears fan. I'm not even gonna lie to you. So
This is a follow-up question I never thought I'd ask. In which ways are they shitty?
Man, like just the way that they're just freaking obnoxious, just yelling and all that other stuff about things that don't even matter. Like we're not even running the play, and you guys are talking about boo. Oh yeah, go green. Like what are we even talking? The game hasn't even started yet. Like what are we even talking about here? Like y'all. Half of them don't even know football. It's so weird to me. But I'm just ready to go back out there and play, and I want to go out there and I want to beat the hell out of them, on their field, and I want to hear the boos then. That's what I look forward to. So.
Yeah, and as far as the obnoxious part of it, Packers fans say the same about Bears fans is without a doubt. I'm sure.
Breaking news: rival fan base thinks that the other fan base sucks.
Oh my God, this is
shocking.
This is real shocking. If you missed the highlights there, he called them shitty, obnoxious, and half of them don't even know football. And did point out, I wish Aaron Rodgers was still there so we could beat them and with this new look defense. And he's got a chip on his shoulder, of course, as this defense should.
And I appreciate it. Listen, this division right now is completely wide open, and you can't tell me that a lot of these guys on these teams don't feel it, especially with Aaron Rodgers leaving. Look what happened. Look what's happening in Minnesota right now. Is they're kind of, taking pieces off their situation. Dalvin Cook is gone. Hunter might be gone, stuff like that. The Lions, half their team might be gambling right now and might be getting suspended and stuff like that. But I know a lot of people took offense, especially in Green Bay, to his statements. Again, it's a rival player on a rival fan base, saying something in June. If that pisses you off, I don't know what to say. I have been to Lambeau Field twice in my life. It is a beautiful stadium. The fans are very pleasant people. But listen, for a night game last year, it was Bears-Packers. It started at 7-something at night. And I walked around Green Bay at 10 o'clock in the morning, and people were carrying cases of Busch Light down the street. So that tells you a lot about their mindset and their mentality heading into a game that doesn't start for another.
It's going to be obnoxious after the Busch Light.
That doesn't start for another 8 hours. That's a part of it. I think Green Bay is a very different atmosphere because it's a more collegiate style atmosphere. It's a small town. It's a more rabid fan base. The stadium, you can feel it in the stadium. Everything's all bleachers in there and stuff like that. And so that's what you're going to get. But I got zero problems with what he said. Back it up. Go out there and back it up. They come here to Chicago week 1. Go whoop their ass. And when it's time to go to Green Bay a little bit later in the season, back it up. So, that's all I say. Justin Jones is a part of that rotation that we talk about in that pass rush. These guys got to step up. He's going to be a starter this year with probably Andrew Billings, but those rookies are breathing down his neck. Javon Dixon has been having a really good offseason from what we heard, and Zach Pickens is going to be out there as well. These guys are rookies, and they were drafted pretty high. They're going to want to get them on the football field right away. So if that motivates Justin Jones to keep his starting job, my brother, go do it, go say it, but back it up.
Back it up. Week 1, you face Green Bay, and it's completely different story with Jordan Love behind center. So that will be fascinating to see if Justin Jones and company can back it up. And this defense can look like the Bears defenses of old. I know you and I both miss it, Ross, as do many of the folks in the chat and listening in and watching on YouTube. That's all I got for Bears news. Unless you have anything, Ross.
I say this every single time because I mean it.
Say it.
Stay safe. Stay out the headlines.
Stay out of the playpen.
Stay out the police blotter. Stay off the TMZ.
Don't pull a fucking Zion, all right?
Yes. Please come back. Do not pull a Zion. Please no. Please come back to Lake Forest in a few weeks very safely. We know that Justin Fields will be traveling to France this weekend. He is his agent is Quincy Avery, who also represents Deshaun Watson and the aforementioned Jordan Love. And so the three of those guys will be doing a football camp together in France with each other. I'll save you the Deshaun Watson comments and stuff like that. That's a different show for a different day, but let's hope that Justin stays safe and he has a beautiful time in France. It's a lovely country this time of year. But come back to Chicago safely, please, because we need you and we've got high aspirations. And I'm sure that's what Matt Eberflus said to his football team as he bids them adieu. And they part their separate ways before they all come back in a couple weeks.
Why is he in France? I missed that. I'm sorry.
They're doing a football camp, so I believe he's in. I think their company is Athletes First, and Quincy Avery is his agent, and so they're all the players underneath the same agent are all getting together to do some football camp in France. And Deshaun Watson is also one of his guys, and then also so is Jordan Love. So all three of those guys will be there doing the same football camp with each other.
Stay away from the French whores.
Stay away from the Moulin Rouge and the red light district in Paris, which is actually quite lovely. I was able to.
It's one of the nicer red light. Europe does their red light districts a lot better than America.
It is. It's actually quite lovely. You hear red light district and you think very negative things, but
in America,
like Green Bay, the red light district in Paris when I was there, they were very pleasant people.
The hookers are sweeping the sidewalks, washing the windows.
That's
like
right.
A goddamn musical. I love it. All right, switching focus. You did mention the Minnesota Vikings, and a big move in the last week was Dalvin Cook being released by the Minnesota Vikings, and so that between him and Ezekiel Elliott, there's still a couple running backs out there that could really just change the whole complexion of offenses out there. And I know. There's several landing spots being floated out there, but do you have a sense or an opinion of where you'd want Dalvin Cook to land? Obviously, we don't want him in the NFC North anymore because he torched the Bears every time he played them, but still it's certainly in his prime too. I mean, I get it, as you touched on with Minnesota too, how they're just trying to, with the Thielen move and now with Cook, and I'm forgetting on defense who they dropped as well, but kind of just shedding the contract weight and these vets. But yeah, going back to the question about Dalvin Cook, you got your sights set on any team in particular or a few options?
Yeah, it's going to be tough for him. Zadarius Smith is the guy you're thinking about too.
Yeah.
The guy that they left.
Yeah,
I mean, listen, I think a lot of these running backs right now are starting to see that the love isn't there for them from a financial standpoint. Whether you're Saquon Barkley, you're not showing up to the camp to OTAs right now with the Giants because you're pissed off over that situation. I know Najee Harris had some comments this week as well, saying that he doesn't feel good about where the running back situation is. Jonathan Taylor also echoed that as well. Listen, don't raise your boys to be running backs right now because they are not being treated. They're not being treated kindly on the market right now. They are very much like commodities, like disposable commodities. But I think that he would probably want to go to Miami. I know that that's an area where he's from, and he'd like to probably go back home, and he'd probably be very dynamic in that offense. I think the best fit for him is, it sounds like the Broncos are kicking the tires on him. And if you are Dalvin Cook and you've seen what Sean Payton can do with Alvin Kamara in his career, and you know that Russell Wilson is really going to need a security blanket. I forget the young man's name last year. I'll look it up right now. The rookie that they had who tore his knee up early on in the season. But it's going to take him a little bit while to get back up to speed again. If Dalvin Cook really wanted to kind of resurrect his career and go out there and prove his worth, I think Denver would be the best spot for him because you think he's going to have tremendous opportunity there with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. Javonte Williams is the guy that I'm thinking about. Right now, their room is Javonte Williams coming off a knee injury and Samaje Perine. Dalvin Cook steps right into there and probably is their day one starter.
For sure. I would certainly like to. I mean, he'd be just a hell of an addition to that already loaded Miami offense, as we've seen in Denver. One of the worst scoring teams in the league. And a big part of that was just even when they get in the red zone, they weren't able to do anything, not for lack of trying, I guess, on Russell Wilson's end. And he's trying to have a bounce back year, and he's looking all trim and shit after the NBA finals. Now he can focus. But Cook, I get the comments are, of course, pointing to his injuries, and it's the toughest position, one of the toughest in football for sure, is certainly on the offensive side. When you go inside out, across the middle, you're receiving and you're running, and you just get a huge workload. Dalvin Cook has already taken a huge workload with the Minnesota Vikings. I'll be curious to see where he goes, because he still has a lot of value for me. I'd still put him, in that top tier of running backs, I would think. And again, for a running back hungry room like Denver, it makes too much sense, right? Absolutely. On the note of Denver, let's switch focus to the NBA. Thank you. And Russell Wilson getting no love from Jamal Murray, just passing him by, and his family said, nope, don't care, bye-bye. Well, he had a lot going on, as did all of the Denver Nuggets, who are now 2023 NBA champions, the first in franchise history. Just an incredible run for Denver. As we know, the legend of Jokic just continues to grow, and he was just unstoppable in this entire finals, and finished this game 5 with 28 points, 16 rebounds, several assists, and it was a close one against Miami, but there was just really no answer for Jokic throughout the series, and he was certainly that big difference, and just incredible. And for this team to be healthy was just what we wanted to see them realize their full potential. Just an incredible effort from them. It's their first title, as I mentioned. It's finally secured. Just a great effort by the Heat too, which we'll talk about in a minute. It's one of the most impressive runs for sure over these last several years. You think they're up in the conversation with the 2016 Cavs, as well as the 2017 Warriors. It's uber impressive for Jokic to be 28 years old, won 2 MVPs already. Now he's just the accolades just keep coming, right? It was a good game for Denver in Game 5, and I know the Heat certainly left a lot to be desired there at the end, especially Jimmy Butler, when you really thought that he was gonna come out swinging in that game, where it was win or go home. You thought they would make a run for it, but it was not in the cards. And it's just, as we'd been pounding throughout the show, Denver was the team to beat throughout these playoffs, and certainly earning that number 1 seed helped, as they didn't have to play the likes of the Warriors. But you get past LeBron, you sweep LeBron, and then you play a team that just, fought tooth and nail to get where they were from the play-in, playing more basketball than than Denver did for sure, getting to where, having to survive that 7-game series against the Celtics. But just incredibly impressive between him and Jokic and Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray had a more down game, but really started scoring when it counted in that Game 5. And then the contributions from guys like Aaron Gordon, from Michael Porter Jr. It was really fun to see, man. I'm all for it. Jokic becoming the first player, as you see on the ticker there, in history to lead the league in points and rebounds and assists in a single postseason, which is just bonkers. It adds to his legacy. What can you say about it, Ross? Congratulations to them.
It couldn't have happened to, I think, a more likable guy in Jokic. I don't know how you can not like him. He has a very fun.
We'll wait till we talk about his comments.
Yeah, I mean, he says he just has a fun personality. He's worked his ass off throughout his career. He's a 2-time MVP, despite the fact that he's told you he doesn't even care about those kind of accolades and stuff like that. The guy literally ended the finals. Was like, the job is done. Now it's time to go home. He's like that. Like, that's it. Like that. And so that's what he's gonna do. He's gonna go home. He's gonna rest. He's gonna spend time with his beautiful wife and daughter. And then he's going to come right back out next year. He's going to kick your ass again, because he's not going anywhere. He's only 28 years old. It's not like he's super athletic or super fast, so he's not going to slow down or anything like that, or his game doesn't it doesn't age poorly. You come right back again next year and be right in the exact spot. I think a lot of people fail to realize, coming off the bubble from a couple of years ago, if Jamal Murray doesn't get hurt and he doesn't tear his ACL, I think Denver actually gets a ring sooner than they got it right now. But that Jamal Murray injury really put it kind of slowed things down for them and set them back about 2 years. And so it also couldn't happen to, like Aldo said, a better sports city. Denver's just a really cool city in general. It's good people, good vibe out there. And so I'm happy they got it. I think it's good for sports. You can even throw the Golden Knights into this, where you get different opportunities from different cities and different teams to win. And that's kind of what sports is all about. From a pure basketball standpoint, I think the basketball I grew up watching was, a lot of motion, a lot of passing, a lot of cutting to the basket, a lot of making the second and third pass. And I think that's what I love the most about watching Jokic and the Nuggets play, is such an unselfish brand of basketball. It's kind of like you said, like what the 2017 Warriors did. It's like what the Bulls did back in the day with the triangle offense. Tim Duncan and his Spurs teams were very much like that as well. It's just my favorite brand of basketball. I hate that dribble, pound it, James Harden one-on-one style and stuff like that. I can't stand that kind of basketball. So I'm happy to see the basketball purity win out as well. And Jokic, listen, he's going to go down as at least one of the 15 to 20 best players of all time, and obviously his legacy has still been written here. But he's a 2-time MVP. He has he's got a ring now. He's one of only like 5 players in basketball history to have the 50 plus club. You know what this is? It's if you can average in a game 50 plus points, rebounds, assists a game. And it's just an absurd number, and only like 5 guys have been able to do that. And he's gonna, like I say, he'll be back again. So it's gonna be really fun to see. You might be seeing a turning of the guard and a new dynasty created. Hats off to the Miami Heat. They fought, they battled, they just were outmanned, and I think they were very, very exhausted. In particular, Jimmy Butler, he just looked tired in that game the other night. He had no lift on his jump shots. He couldn't, when he got to the paint, he couldn't even lift up to shoot the ball, which is kind of what led to that big turnover there in the fourth quarter. But I don't count Miami out either. It's a beautiful city. It's a Pat Riley is at the helm. They will attract the star somehow, some way. Some guy could wake up tomorrow, big star, and say, "Okay, trade me to Miami." And we've seen it happen before with them time and time again. So, they'll be back as well. But this is all about Denver right now, and much deserved. I hope that nobody takes away this limelight from them and says that they beat an 8th seed or they beat an old LeBron or that's all bullshit. Jokic deserves all the pomp and circumstance right now, because he is the best player in the NBA currently, and he should be treated as such.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Ross. And, the Nuggets, the 5th different NBA champion in 5 seasons. That parity is fun to see, man, where you see Denver. And again, Jokic is a phenomenal player, but you look at that team now realizing their potential. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was such a big addition, already winning one with the Lakers, and now this is 2nd championship. And Jamal Murray, who you didn't really know if he was going to play basketball again after a point. It was incredible to see the run he had. And you saw how, only Shaq and Kobe, I think, were ahead of their scoring in a finals like that. It was pretty incredible. Aaron Gordon, as we talked about last time around, how good of a player he is, and he had some quality minutes. And then the bench, it came up big. Bruce Brown, the 6th man of the year right there. And then Jeff Green, who is a big addition, who's a real savvy vet there. Christian Brown, who their rookie, who had some great minutes already, coming off a national championship with Kansas. And it's cool to see the other journeymen there. But it's all about Jokic. As far as his legacy, I'm curious. The top 5 big men of all time is probably, if you got to rattle them off, it's Bill Russell, it's Shaq, it's Tim Duncan, Kareem, Will Chamberlain.
Yeah. Olajuwon's on that list as well.
Yeah, so it's tough to crack even that top 5. So for you to say, 15, top 20, he's still got a ways to go. He's in the top 50 now, right? He would probably round out that, bottom 10 at some point there. You might even say, I don't know, based on comparing him to like Kevin Durant with one ring right now and the stats that they've both put on. Kevin Durant, a different type of player, obviously, but they're kind of gunning for each other, I feel like, just because all these other guys on this list are retiring, or at the end of their career, like a LeBron, someone like that. But it's crazy going back to, him talking about the offseason and said, it's done. Now we can go home, and saying nobody likes their job. It's like, it's pretty crazy. He's 28. So you figure he could play, another decade if he stays healthy, something like that. But does the dude love the game that much? He seems like the type of guy who could maybe get another ring and be like, no, I'm going to retire. I'm going to, have my horse farm and be good. It was crazy to see how humble he was, but he kind of shit on the job, right? I'm not sure he'd stick around that long. The competition at the position is really crazy. But again, going back to him being a 41st overall pick, what an underdog story, and how team after team slept on him, and for him to get drafted in during that Taco Bell commercial is just bananas. But I'm excited to see Denver try to run it back right now. I think they're favorites for a reason. If they can keep this core together, I know Murray and Jokic are due some big time contracts at this point, but it'll be curious to see if they keep most of this roster together and what happens, right?
It will be. And, obviously the NBA's got the new tax apron coming in and stuff like that. They made a very stealthy trade during the NBA finals, actually, to get some more draft picks. And we saw, they had the guy, Brown out there, the rookie that was able to, to compete with them. To me, as long as you have that core four coming back, which they do, they're all on the contract, Jokic, Murray, Gordon, Porter, you're going to interchange pieces in there and move guys around, and that's going to be okay. And then what happens is the Jokic effect starts to happen. If you're a veteran and you are looking for, if you start ring chasing and you don't mind getting paid $2.5 million a year, you can go sign with Denver because A, you could have the opportunity to win a ring, and then B, Jokic just makes everybody look better. He just makes everybody look good.
And selfish.
Yeah. So what he did for, you talk about Caldwell Pope and the other veterans on the roster. Bruce Brown went there. He was a guy that was with the Nets last year and really couldn't get the minutes that he wanted. He comes into here and he's playing meaningful minutes in the fourth quarter and doing well. That's the Jokic effect of veterans and coming in. So now guys are going to start to come in and call their agents, say, get me there for 1 year. I can get a ring with this guy. I can get a couple bucks, and then I can kind of ride off to the sunset. It's going to happen.
Yeah, the first title for Denver in 47 seasons is a great story. And it, again, a day later, it's a bad week for Miami. That continues. Golden Knights go ahead and clinch their Stanley Cup, which was a very fun story as well. But it's good to see that parity again. I can't go back to that enough. But with Jokic, it's and that's how you get into the Hall of Fame talks and legend talks and the top 10, top 15 player talks, is you play unselfish basketball like he does. And he's like, he said it long ago. I don't jump high. I'm not particularly fast. If I'm open, I shoot. If I'm not, I'm going to pass it. And that court vision was so huge, and making clutch baskets was big. The rebounding, obviously really big into Denver's favor. But kudos to the Heat. And now you wonder, obviously Jimmy Butler left it all out there and the rest of this team. And Bam Adebayo really just carrying that team mostly as well. But I'm curious to see what the Heat do on the other side too, because, we've been singing their praises, even though they came up on the losing end this close to a finals, an NBA championship again. They, are one or two pieces away, right? You had a bunch of undrafted free agents. You were without Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo. So you're curious, you're seeing the Bradley Beal rumors going around. You see what they could go for. And the man behind the curtain, if you will, and Pat Riley, what he has up his sleeve for the Heat into 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, the Heat are going to be back because they're always going to be a destination because it's Miami. Who doesn't want to be rich and young and live in Miami? And then you've got the Pat Riley factor. He's done this now 3 or 4 times. He did this when he took over, and he brought in Shaq from the Lakers, and they won a ring with Dwayne Wade. exit Shaq, enter in Bosh and LeBron and exit those guys. And then now he brings in Jimmy Butler, and this is now their second final appearance underneath that. And I think he realizes Jimmy Butler needs more firepower out there and more help. And so it wouldn't be surprising if Bradley Beal comes to Miami, or Damian Lillard comes to Miami, or some big name is going to be in Miami at the end of this year, because that's just what Pat Riley does. Pat Riley is going to go down as one of the three most influential people in basketball history, from what he's been able to do to win rings as a player with the Lakers, to win rings as a coach with the Lakers, to what he did with the Knicks, to winning as a coach with the Heat, to being an executive and winning with them. And also, really being a big part of the player empowerment era, and really saying we want to be this. And so, I'll never bet against Pat Riley.
Yeah, no question. And 25% of all the NBA finals, I think the stat was, it was just absurd to see his effect on the NBA. And you got to say the future is still pretty bright for Miami there. And man, that Messi news was pretty incredible too, to see him getting huge money, obviously, to sort of spurn, what was it, like $1 billion or something ridiculous from Saudi Arabia, where these other players can go. But it's like you said, the allure of Miami, and Messi has already accomplished so much internationally, where you can just do kind of what David Beckham started to do and just go and fuck around in Miami and live an incredible life there. And the effect, though, on that team in particular was just bananas, where your ticket prices, went up 1,000%. Your Instagram followers, the social media, everything like that just blew up right after that. So it's a good time to be a Miami sports fan, I'd still say, despite the losses in the Stanley Cup and the NBA Finals.
Absolutely. And if we said, don't raise your kids to be running backs, you certainly raise them to be goal striking soccer players, because those guys are winning right now on and off the field. Those guys are getting paid $200 million a year. If you're Ronaldo and Messi and some of these other big names, we saw Mbappe is planning his exit now from Paris Saint-Germain, and so now he's going to strategize what's his next best move. And I think it's good for the MLS, because the MLS needs the star power. They need people to come out to the games. I think it's a fun product, but you just need people want to see stars, especially if you are down in Miami. And I already looked up that Miami team is coming to Chicago October 4th, and the prices went up 10 times for tickets just because Messi is coming to town, but that's the Messi effect. And then that's
$30 to
effect.
250. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, absolutely.
Well, future's bright there. As we round out the show, Ross, are you watching The Idol? You care to fill me in on this? I finally finished Succession. Finished Ted Lasso.
Yes.
Satisfying endings. One more sad than the other.
I am.
Yes, which one?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I am watching The Idol. I cannot, in good faith, call it a good show. I think it's pretty bad, but it's very much like a interesting car wreck. You can't help but not watch it. And so
you got The Weeknd in there.
You have The Weeknd. I'm a huge fan of The Weeknd's music. That is Johnny Depp's daughter on the screen. I forget her name right now, but she is a Depp. And she's actually
it's Lily Rose.
Lily Rose Depp. And she's very charismatic. She's obviously very pretty and stuff like that. It's coming from Barry Levinson, who's also the creator of Euphoria. So he's got history there with HBO. This just isn't a very good show. It looks cool. It looks great. It's pretty poorly acted, in particular by The Weeknd. I think the writing is bad. It's very sensationalized. And yet somehow I've already watched 2 episodes, and I'm like, I'm going to watch it again next week. And I'm going to keep watching it again.
Oh, boy. Sucked you in.
It did. It's a really bad show that I feel like I cannot turn off right now. And a part of it is because the timing is coming out in a time where there's nothing else out there, right? We don't have the sports anymore. My baseball team sucks right now. I am able to get out to the movie theater and catch some good movies. Shout out to the new Spiderverse movie. Go see that. It is a top 5 movie this year. It is absolutely phenomenal. Nice. But yeah, I'm watching it because there isn't much going on right now, but I can't in good faith recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, my again back to the immediate turnoff being the star's name in Lily Rose, which is my daughter's name, doing
That's tough.
oh,
You definitely
less,
don't want to watch this then.
less than savory things that
Yes.
I've heard about and not
Especially
seen.
heading into Father's Day. These are all the things you don't want your daughter to do on
Shit
this
here,
show.
Johnny just is not going to want to watch Lily Rose Depp do. It doesn't seem very family friendly. I need some new shows at this point though, with so many finishing, but I do still have to.
I could
What's that?
recommend Class of '09 on Netflix. It stars Brian Taylor Henry and and Kate Mara. So
Oh yeah,
Brian Taylor Henry from Thierry Henry from Atlanta. He was in Bullet Train, stuff like that. Very good actor. Was nominated for an Oscar last year. And Kate Mara obviously has been in a bunch of stuff. She's Rooney Mara's sister. I can recommend that show. It's a very fun espionage FBI show that bounces back and forth between the present, future, and past. And that one's a good show. FX.
all right. FX stays winning, man. That's for sure.
Yep.
On the note of television, with Father's Day around the corner coming this Sunday, you want to throw out some favorite fictional dads? I got a couple Mount Rushmores for you. I got the sitcom Mount Rushmore. You got Homer Simpson.
Yep. Yes.
Put Peter Griffin up there.
Yes.
Yes. I'll put Hank Hill.
Yep.
And then I'll put Danny Tanner up there.
I was gonna say Danny Tanner's up there as well. I one of mine, shout out J. Cole, rest in peace, Uncle Phil, right?
Yeah.
Uncle Phil has got to be on my list. I also put Carl Winslow on my list. Family Matters on there as well. And I'm old school. Listen, Mike Brady, man, the Brady Bunch. Listen, what guy is gonna marry a woman and then take on her other 3 kids and bring them all into the house with each other? And so shout out Mike Brady, because that was just unprecedented. That was unprecedented then, and even more so now today. Absolutely.
He was ahead of his time. Yeah,
absolutely.
Drama dads. I got Tony Soprano, Walter White, Don Draper, and the late Logan Roy.
Yes, absolutely. Some of my dads from drama movies, shout out Furious Styles from Boys in the Hood. Absolutely amazing father. John Q, Denzel Washington. This guy took a whole hospital hostage so his son could get a heart. I mean, that has to be in the running for Father of the Year.
Pretty dedicated right there.
I'm shouting out Marlon from Finding Nemo. Just because he went across the ocean to find his son. It's my favorite Pixar movie of all time. And how can we forget Darth Vader? Because Luke, I am your father. And one more, I'll throw one more bonus out there, but Robin Williams in Mrs. Doubtfire, for him to be able to dress up in a dress just to see his children and force Pierce Brosnan out the way so he's not getting busy with his ex-wife. Amazing father.
It was a run by fruiting. I love that. And don't forget on the movie tip, the Liam Neesons from Taken. You forget what he did.
Nobody went above and beyond than he did for their kids. Agreed.
Certainly did. I like the comments. Al Bundy.
Al Bundy's a great one.
And Tim the Toolman Taylor.
Yep. Or
some fine work there. Jay Pritchett. That's a more Modern Family reference for sure. As far as the drama Mount Rushmore, they're just back to Tony Soprano, Walter White, Don Draper, Logan Roy, all horrible in their own particular way, but all about the family. And there's too many terrible fathers in Game of Thrones, and poor Ned Stark, of course, was like one of the first to go. And then we love The Wire. Jimmy McNutty just always seems to show up as a sort of deadbeat dad.
Yes.
But he was just trying his best.
Yeah. Couple RIPs out there too. George Jefferson, obviously on the Jefferson. We talk about All in the Family as well. Another great dad. And Frank Costanza, right? Frank Costanza was one of my, I think, one of the funniest dads of all time on any show. Absolutely brilliant. From Ben Stiller's father, obviously.
Yeah, no question there. So on the note of Father's Day, you posed the question: what's the perfect Father's Day present? What is and everybody's a little different. I think I have an inkling for you, but how do you answer that, Ross?
I think, absolutely. I think you have to keep it simple. I think people tend to overthink these things. Men usually want some spirit of their choice, some alcohol of their choice, whether it's a bourbon or a tequila or a scotch or something like that.
Yeah.
I have purchased myself. Shout out to Binny's. Binny's is doing an autograph session. Well, they're doing an engraving session tomorrow. You can buy a bottle of 1942 Don Julio, and they'll engrave it for you. So I am buying myself that for Father's Day tomorrow. But I think men like meats, cured meats, and anything that they can throw on the grill and stuff like that. As Cliff put in there,
flexing with his Wagyu steaks.
The Wagyu steaks are always a plus. Any kind of spices, anything like that. And then I think guys also just want some peace and quiet.
Same as Mother's Day, man. You can't overthink it.
They want some peace and quiet. They want a nice cold beer, and they maybe want to watch a baseball game, or they want to watch a very dad movie. What's a very dad movie? Is it like Saving Private Ryan? It would be like the most dad movie of all time. Right?
It'd be like a new Tom Cruise, or in my father's case, John Wick 4.
Yo, there you go. I was gonna say, dads usually like World War II movies and stuff like that. So
yeah,
a nice cold drink and some peace and quiet and some good music, and they still want to see their kids, but give them a little space as well.
Leave them the hell alone. That's what they say. Those moments are, I'm very early in my dadhood here and fatherhood, but those moments are already very hard to come by, and that's what I would appreciate. And I know my father and my brother and you yourself would also appreciate that as well. Ron, way to bring this down. But yeah, that's all I really got. Happy birthday, Freddie Gibbs, though, too. 41 years old, one of the best rappers out there. He's got another ad lib project coming one of these days. He's promised it.
He does. Yeah, I know a lot of people have been talking about Tiny Desk performances and stuff this week. We're getting a juvenile Manny Fresh Tiny Desk by the end of next week. Ooh. Check out Freddie Gibbs' Tiny Desk performance. It's one of the best Tiny Desk performances ever. Last week was Babyface. He just did a Tiny Desk performance, which was very, very awesome. But yeah, shout out to Gary, Indiana's own Freddie Gibbs. Happy birthday to him.
Happy birthday, Fred.
Yes.
That's right. Yes. All right, everybody. We ran out of show here. Thanks to everybody for listening in. We appreciate it. Remember to follow us on Twitter. Follow me at 311Mac. Follow Ross at Ross Reed. Follow the Barroom Network at Barroom Network. And if you've missed any of this show, you can catch it on YouTube after we end. And you can catch the audio-only versions on Spotify, on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Remember to like, subscribe. Tell a friend or two. Everybody have a great Father's Day. Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy. And for now, we say deuces. Be good to each other. So long, everybody.
Peace.